Manamapi Shachiputam Atra Surupam Rupam Tasya Grajamuripurim Maturim Gostuvaitim Radha Kundam Girivaram Ahoradika Madhavasam Prakto Yasya Pratitakripaya Sri Guru Damnatosmi Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tidale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya Hema Padivyatschavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Bhakta Vina Aparana Lakshay Shilpasya Kamadita Sangamanya Ikam Aikam Sharanam Navana Inde Namaste Sharanaravinam Vande Namaste Sharanaravinam Govinda Ramo Raramanavedi Govinda Ramo Raramanavedi Govinda Ramo Raramanavedi Govinda Ramo Raramanavedi Hey Krishna Hey Rama Hey Sati Govinda Ramo Raramanavedi Sham Sundar Shikanda Shikar Smaha Sumuli Manora Radhikar Sukamama Kripanidhe Supriyachana Kinkarim Kuru Tavaivasmi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tayavana Iti Vidyaya Devi Tam Namam Chanantikam. First of all, I offer my sastang dandavat puspanjali, my heart like flowers, thousands and thousands of times, at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual guru. Nitya-lila Purishta Om Vishnupada Ishto Tarasvata Shishimar Rupanu Vacharivarya Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Swami. Secondly, I offer my pranam at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev Srila Prabhupada and all of our Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to all the assembled devotees. Vancha kalpatarvasya Once there was a very powerful and famous king. His name was Maharaj Rishabdeva. And when he came to the middle of his life, then he decided to leave his home and all material attachments, all social engagements, and wander alone in the wilderness, absorbed in remembering So before he terminated his engagement in worldly activities, he gave spiritual instructions to his sons. His eldest son was named Bharat. Became Bharat Maharaj. And India today is called Bharat after him. Then the next 9 sons, they were Kavi, Havi, Antariksha, Prabhuda, Pitpalayan, Karabhajan, Chamasa, so on. 9 Navayogendras, the 9 masters of mystic yoga. So before leaving home, he told them, Nayam deha deha bhajam riloke kastam kaham ahati vidpujamile tapo divyam putra kayena sattvam sudyat yasmad brahma sokyam to anantam. My dear sons, this human body is distinct from the other bodies of the living beings in this world. The Vedas say there are 8,400,000 species of life. Among the insects, aquatics, fish, mammals, and so on, there are 8 million species. There are 400,000 species of human beings. And they are quite rare, much less in number. So when the soul, who is transmigrating lifetime after lifetime, in accordance with his karma, takes birth in a human body, then this human birth is a special opportunity, which is very difficult. An opportunity to attain something which is very difficult, almost impossible in other species of life. So he said, Nayam deha deha bhajam riloke. Now you have this human body. Don't spoil this opportunity to become God conscious, to be awakened to the nature of your own soul, to be enlightened. That means to develop transcendental, eternal and perfect love for Sri Krishna. Nayam deha deha bhajan riloke. Other forms of life, like pigs, they just try to enjoy their senses. They are very interested in running here and there, trying to eat things. They are very interested in relaxing in the mud. Very nice, comfortable mud. Better than Swedish Tempur dick bed. They are looking here and there for sex. In this way they try to enjoy the physical senses of their pig body. So human life is not for this. We should not utilize this great gift that God has given us in the form of the human body in living like animals, looking for only comfort, luxury and sense gratification, which causes the soul to become intoxicated and proud and completely lost to his own spiritual nature. So what should you do? Tapo divyam putakayena sattvam. My dear sons, tapo divya, divya tapa, means you should do transcendental austerity. Austerity, the general meaning of austerity is to practice the self-restraint and withhold the senses from their objects. But the real meaning of tapa is to make your mind one-pointed, concentrated, focused. This is the most difficult thing to do. One type of austerity is fasting. But to fast is very easy. Especially if you need to lose a few pounds. Then you can fast very happily. But to control the mind, to focus the mind upon God is very difficult. Because the mind wants to run here and there into the spirit of exploitation of the material energy. The mind demands that others will respect us. The mind makes the demand that others should respect us. There is a passion for honor. And if our desires are not fulfilled, then the mind becomes Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Rajoguna Samudbhava. Then anger comes, we become angry. So, even the great demon Hiranyakashipu could stand on the tips of his toes with his hands in the air, fasting, even he gave up breathing. But still, he could not focus control his mind. He was only dreaming, I will be so powerful, everyone will bow down to me. So actual austerity means to focus the mind on the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Why? Sudhyatyasmad brahma saukam tanantam. By fixing the mind on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, one attains a Brahma Sukha. Not a material happiness, but a spiritual happiness. The advantage of this spiritual happiness is that it is ananta. Brahma Saukyam to anantam. That means that the spiritual happiness is both unlimited in quantity and also everlasting in time, going on forever. Unlike the pleasures of this world. Yehi in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna said, Yehi sangsparshaja bhoga dukkha yonaya evate adyantavanta konteya nate shuramate buddha. This is an IQ test. Test of intelligence. What is your IQ? Here Krishna is saying, Jehi samsparshaja bhoga. When the senses come in contact with the objects of the world, being sometimes sweet, sometimes savory, sometimes like vanilla ice cream, whatever. When the senses contact their objects, then you feel good. And this happiness is dukkha yonaya evate. It is dukkha yoni. It is the womb of future suffering. Because the more the consciousness becomes addicted to the pleasures of the body, then he is trapped inside that body, which is already sentenced to old age, disease and death. And then at the end of life, giving up the body due to attachment to the physical existence, the soul will again take another body and be reincarnated to again to struggle in this world. Who has suffered in life? You can raise your hand. So much suffering. You can think of your finger. How much pleasure can you get from this finger? Something. Maybe you can send an SMS. And if someone wants to torture you, how much pain can they give? So, as long as the spiritual soul is in contact with the material body, they have to undergo many miseries. When you are young, you think that you'll never be old. So all the old people in the room, they also thought like that. And they remember when they were young, it seems like 5 minutes ago.
Yes.
Huh? It was just yesterday. So, the illusion of identification with the body and the flow of time is very powerful. And the more we become involved in the sense gratification, the more we become bewildered by that. Soul is said to be like a sleeping condition. And the dream is sometimes pleasant, sometimes becomes a complete nightmare. Oh, where are you from? England. Yes? South Africa. So, yehi sangsparshaja bhoga dukkha yona evate. The contact of the senses with their objects is not actually the source of happiness. It is the cause of future bondage and future suffering. Adhyantavanta kontaya nate shuramate veda means the pleasures of the material plane, they have a beginning and an end. They are very fleeting, like a dream. And therefore, nate shuramate buddha, those who are Buddha, they are intelligent. They don't become involved in this fleeting, temporary happiness. So this is the IQ test of IQ. If you are Buddha, Buddha means intelligent, then you will not be involved in the objects of the senses or even meditating on the objects of the senses. One who is intelligent will fix their mind on the very beautiful name, form and qualities of Krishna. And by this, the sleepiness of body identification goes away and the soul becomes awake. And when the soul is awake and established in loving relationship with Krishna, then the happiness and the love that our whole life we were searching for, we discover. So in this way, Rishabdeva was, before leaving home, it was last words he was telling, good advice to his sons. He said, Parabhava jata yavada bodha jato yavanna jigyasata Atma-Tattva. As long as you don't inquire into Atma-Tattva, the truth of Atma, the soul, then everything that you do is parabhav, means failure, complete defeat. Our human life is for the search for truth, the discovery of the soul. That is called Atma, so it's Atma-Tattva, the truth of the soul. And everything that you do, which is not in pursuance of that goal of knowing Atma-Tattva, is complete loss, complete failure and complete defeat. It is very sad that the modern society and media engages in the valorization of the trivial. The glorification of that which is utterly worthless and insignificant. Even if materially worthless and insignificant. What to speak of spiritually. So this is a great tragedy in the lives of the people. So we should learn from a qualified guru, spiritual master, the art of how to live our life. That all of our senses and thoughts are engaged in the process of becoming purified and realizing our eternal spiritual nature. Before the sand of time runs out. Because unless we realize our spiritual nature, before this end of our life comes, then we will have to take birth again and again and again. So Atma-Tattva, the truth of the Atma, the soul, is very interesting, very fascinating. In Bhagavad Gita, this is the main book of yoga and spiritual knowledge from India, Bhagavad Gita. There, in chapter 15, text 7, Sri Krsna said, Mamayvangso jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manashastani indriyani prakriti-stani karshati. He said, every soul is eternal, sanatan, and individual. Some people think when the soul is liberated, nirvana, then at that time, soul becomes one with the oneness. And everything is over, finished. Just emptiness and no individual experience. But this idea is also illusion. It's the last trick of Maya. First Maya tries to trick you with the sense gratification and power, position and all of these things. And those who become free from that, then she offers the liberation. The prospect of liberation. Just escape. Nirvana. But beyond this world, there is nothing. Beyond this world, this spiritual world is filled with more beauty, more variety, more music, more art, more everything than this world. This world is that only the dim reflection of the eternal reality. So, the soul is eternal, and by constitution, Mamayvangso jiva loke. The soul is one angsa, that means an expanded, subjective portion of God Himself. In order to play, in order to experience the exchange of love, Sri Krishna has become many. And when our consciousness is turned away from Krishna, then we become lost in the shadows of material existence. And when through bhakti, through devotion, we turn our attention back towards our source, Sri Krishna, then the shadows of illusion, they dissolve away and we enter into the true and eternal life. Krishna said in chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, 27, Prakrite kriyamanani gunaye karmani sarvasaha ahankara vimudatma kartamiti manyate. The soul is bewildered by ahankara, ego. And because of this ego, he thinks, I am doing everything. But what is acting? Prakriti, the material energy. Material energy is doing everything. This body is made of earth, water, fire, air and space. And our astral body, mind, intelligence and ego, these are all material elements which are covering the soul. And the material elements are acting, and the soul, out of ego, is thinking, I am doing everything. But Krishna told Arjuna, Naiva kinchit karomiti One whose consciousness is pure. They know whether they are standing or sitting, walking, talking, opening or closing their eyes, that only the senses of the body are engaged with their objects. Naiva kinchit karomiti. And I, the soul, I am doing nothing. I am still doing nothing. So, in some places in scripture, in the Vedas, it is said the soul is not the doer. He is not doing anything. But in Vedanta Sutra, there it is stated, Karta Shastratavatvat. Karta Shastratavatvat. It means the soul is Karta, is the doer. The soul is a doer. Otherwise, all the instructions of the Vedas would have no meaning. For example, in the Vedas it says, let he who wants to go to the heavens perform sacrifice. Let he who will enjoy the heavenly delights engage in sacrifice. So, the one who enjoys is Atma. If the one who enjoys was different from the one who did the sacrifice, then the statement of the Vedas would be incorrect. Furthermore, the Vedas give orders. Uttishtata jagara prapya param nibodhata. Get up, wake up and attain the goal of your life. So Vedas give instruction. If Atma was not the doer, then to whom are the Vedas giving instruction? And if Atma is not the doer, then why does he get the karma of his activities? If he is not the doer, then he is not responsible and he should not receive the karmic reactions for the activities he performs. So this is a very deep point. How to understand the relationship of Atma, the soul, with the material energy. The Vedas say, Asango hyayam purushaha, that the soul never associates with Maya, with the illusion, the material energy. The soul is never touched by Prakriti, the material energy, by the three gunas. It's a very difficult problem to understand. So we want to address this very minutely. In the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapil Dev gave instructions to his mother Devahuti. He said, Sayam Bhagavato Maya Yannayena Virudhyate Ishvarasya Vimuktasya Karpanyan Uttabandanam. He said, you should know that the illusory energy of God is Yannayena Virudhyate. It contradicts our powers of logic. So if you are trying to understand the nature of illusion by your logic, you will not come to the conclusion, because Maya, the illusory energy, by her very nature contradicts logic and reason. Our logic and reason is coming from the buddhi, intelligence. This intelligence is also one material covering of the soul. So Maya is not going to help you get free from that. If a pot is not clean because it's full of ink, so you want to wash out the ink and then you can put some milk in. You cannot clean the pot with more ink. So, by being absorbed in trying to use your material logic and reason, which itself is Maya, you cannot get out of Maya. Not possible. One has to transcend the limitations of the mind. One transcends the limitations of the mind. Transcend, in English, tra. Transcend, in Sanskrit, tra. And mind in Sanskrit, man. Mantra. To transcend the limit of the mind, you need a mantra. So the best mantra of all is called the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By completely surrendering oneself to the vibrations of the name of Krishna in the form of this mantra, then slowly the oscillations of the mind, which make us become bewildered, confused, they slow down and stop. Krishna is attractive. He attracts our consciousness by force. Those who are chanting, even if you don't know anything, you don't know the meaning of the mantra, the grammar of the mantra, the words of the mantra, but you just chant, repeat this sound vibration. The name of Krishna itself has powerful attraction and will take your consciousness out from the material energy and situate you in samadhi, trance. In the state of samadhi, trance, there we have pure vision of reality. Otherwise, when our consciousness is distorted by the oscillations within the time of this material world, then we have a distorted vision of reality, not clear. So, the material energy is such that it contradicts reason. So in the scripture we have two statements, soul is not doer, and statements, soul is doer. How can we reconcile it? Even in this verse, Mamaivang so jivaloke jiva bhuta sanatana mana shastrani indriyani prakriti stani karshati. It's said here that the soul, being situated in the material energy, is drawing towards himself. Karshati means he draws. The word Krishna comes from this attraction. He attracts, the soul attracts towards himself the mind and five senses. So here's very important, Karshati. He draws or he attracts towards himself. Who? The soul. So this is an action. It is in grammar, it is the parasmaipada, this verb, which means he is doing something to an object, so he's active, active verb. In chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krsna said there are 5 factors of action. In every action there are 5 factors. 1, Adhisthana means the place. So Adhisthana, the place, means the body in which the soul is situated. Is one of the factors of action. Then, Indriya, the senses. Without senses, you cannot experience anything. Then, Cheshta. Cheshta means the endeavors. It literally means the action of Pran. Pran is the Kriya Shakti. Vedanta tells us that the original form of the senses, they are atoms. And they are situated around the Atma in the heart chakra. So, ordinary person is absorbed in the body, they cannot understand how their body and senses are working. But when the chitta is purified, then we can realize, I am the soul, seated in the region of the heart, and around me are the atoms of the senses, mind and senses. They're atoms. And he becomes like a king. If a person, a sadhu, they become detached from all the things of the world, then the people call Maharaj. Maharaj means a great king. So he has nothing, he has no house, he has no money, he has nothing. Why are you calling him Maharaj? Why? Because he is really a king. He is sitting peacefully on the throne of the heart, and the atoms of the senses, his subjects, are completely under his control. So he is Maharaj. And another person who is a king, sitting on a throne in this world, his senses are out of control. He's a slave. He's not a king. He's a slave to his senses. His senses are telling him, eat this, touch that, go here, go there. Like that. So only the sadhu is really Maharaj. One who's sitting peacefully on the throne of the heart and all senses are under control. So the atoms of the senses have Kriya Shakti. And when this Kriya Shakti acts on the Vayu, the air in the body, the Vayu which has become infused with the Kriya Shakti, power of action from the sense, this is called Pran. Pran means special transformation of Vayu, which has come about by the action of Kriya Shakti of the senses. Otherwise air, say life, the air is moving in your body, but air does not move by itself, it has to be moved by something. So here in this verse, Cheshta, endeavor, means the actions which are brought about by the movement of Pran. Otherwise this body is a dead body. When someone dies, that's it, you cannot bring them back to life. Because soul has left and taken the indriya, the senses, which move the air in the body. He's taken those with him. So the body will not move again anymore. And you can think also that while you are alive, even now your body is dead. It only seems to be alive because it's being moved by the action of Pran. Like a puppet. Puppet is always dead, but the children look and think it's alive. Because they're not so intelligent. Children think, puppet is dancing. Puppet is being moved by some strings. So our body is being moved by 72,000 nadis, the pranic channels in the body. Otherwise the body is always dead. So, what are we doing? Discussing 5 factors of action. Adhisthana, the body, Indriya, the atoms of the senses, Cheshta, the movement of the Pran. Then the 4th factor of action is Karta. Karta. So here Karta, it means ego, but it means ego which is infused with consciousness by the presence of Atma. The light of consciousness of the Atma is reflected into the element of ego, and then the ego is like a central point. What shall I do today? What is your name? What is your name? Arne. Arne. So, this is not your name. But it's okay. It's one label for your body that your parents have given. But your soul is something else. In a previous life you had so many names. In next life you can have other names as well. But soul remains the same. So, but when the light of consciousness of the soul is reflected in the ego, then the ego makes us identify with the physical body and everything connected with it. So we think, I am young, I am old, I am black, I am white, I am male, female. All these designations come to us. So the 4th factor is Karta, that means Atma, the soul. Soul is a doer, but through the medium of Ahankar, ego. And then the last factor of action is Paramatma, God. Unless the Supreme Lord will allow the activity to take place, then nothing can happen. Everything is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krsna. So, in any activity, you can see, if your body is broken, if your leg is broken, you cannot walk. So you depend on your body. If the body is there but the senses have gone, then, and Pran is gone, it will not move. And soul is there, and finally, Krishna, God is there. Sarvasya chaham ridisani visto mataksmitir jnanam uponam cha. Krishna said, I am the Supreme Lord and I am present in your heart. Krishna is there in everyone's heart. And from Krishna comes knowledge, remembrance and forgetfulness. So when you act, why do you act? Because you remembered, I want to do something. And he gives the knowledge by which you can do it as well. Or he makes you forget as well. So in every activity, there are 5 factors by which the activity is accomplished. So is Atma, is the soul the doer or not the doer? Soul is the doer, but he is the contingent doer. His ability to do anything is contingent upon the other 4 factors. But the scriptures are telling that the soul is not the doer, meaning that he is not directly doing the activities of the body. The body is moving, soul is not moving. So he is not directly doing. He is being prompted. His intelligence is being prompted by the 3 gunas. The gunas are saying, you should become a millionaire. The gunas are telling, you should drive a Ferrari. The senses are, the gunas, the material energy is prompting, and when the soul is not very aware, is not very alert, then he goes along with it. But at any time, if he has a little consciousness, he can say, no, this is our free will. He can say no. Krishna said, Apuryamanam achala patistam samudramapa pravishanti advat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sashanti mapnoti na karma kami. Just as many rivers flow into the ocean, but the ocean never changes its shape because it's deep, it can absorb all the rivers. So the same way, the person into whose mind many desires are flowing, but they don't act on those desires, that person attains peace, not others. In other words, those who are always acting on the promptings of the mind, they never become peaceful. They are shallow people. And those who are deep, whatever desires come, they absorb, they don't act on it. But rather, they act to fulfill the desire of Krishna. They act to carry out the instructions and the service of their guru, their spiritual master. In this way, they become completely peaceful. So here, Manashastani Indriyani Prakriti Stani Karshati. The soul is the doer. How? By attracting, drawing the mind and senses towards himself. In this way he is the doer. So Vedanta Sutra said, the soul is the doer in 2 ways, like a carpenter. A carpenter cuts the wood in 2 ways. Indirectly, actually, he never touches the wood. The tool, the chisel, touches the wood and cuts the wood. But the carpenter is holding the tool. So he's cutting the wood in 2 ways. One, by holding the tool, and secondly, by the tool itself is cutting under his direction. So in the same way, we are not touching this world. Our senses are acting. But the Atma is drawing those senses towards himself consciously. Like the carpenter is holding the tool, which is cutting the world, cutting the wood. So Krishna says, Prakriti Stani Kashati. How does this happen? Vedanta gives an example of a magnet. Just as a magnet can attract iron filings, iron towards itself, in the same way, the Atma, the soul, by his icha, that means by his desire, the soul by his willpower is drawing the mind and senses towards himself. And then the mind and senses, being prompted by the gunas, are doing so many activities. In this way, we have to reconcile how Atma is not karta and Atma is also karta. Is the doer and also not the doer. So in the next verse, Krishna said, the soul carries his various conceptions of life with him. Lifetime after lifetime, as the air carries aroma. Very fascinating. You know, when the air is moving, and if the air passes through a garden of roses, then it becomes fragrant with the sweet smell of roses. And if the same air then passes through the garbage dump, then it picks up the bad smell of garbage and carries that to the next destination. By association. So in the same way, when our soul leaves our body, like air, we carry the conception. That means the impressions, the contamination of this life into the next life. And continue to act according to that. But in that life, we may come across other association, by which we take up a different fragrance and carry that to the next life. So you can think, all of your ideas of who you are, this is just like the smell of the material world. Huh? You think, I am French, I am Costa Rican, I am Spanish. No, I am not Spanish, I am from Catalonia. This is only some smell that you have picked up as your soul was traveling on its journey. And then when you die, you carry some feelings. I am very powerful, important. Some feelings you carry with you in the next life, but then in the next life you take on another fragrance. Now, I am from South Africa. So these are all external to the self. So if we want to cleanse our consciousness of all the external designations and realize our position as the loving servants of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, one must chant Maha Mantra every day. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. So please come at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. And we will sit together and meditate for 3 hours, from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And after that, it's very hard work, you'll be hungry, so there'll be breakfast for you. Okay? So now, I've concluded my discussion, the introductory discussion, for those who are just learning about Bhakti Yoga. Now, I want to tell something for those who have been practicing for 30, 40 years. So if you are new and you cannot understand, and it seems like now I began to speak in Chinese, don't panic. Because it's what I will speak now, it's impossible to understand unless you have many years practice. Yasham vai shuyamanayam Krishne paramapurushe Bhakti utpadite pumsa shoka moha vayapa. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami is saying, simply by giving the oral reception, just by listening to the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Purana, then the feelings of love for Krishna sprouts within the heart. And they completely destroy shoka moha by shoka moha vyapaha. Lamentation, illusion and fear. That means that your consciousness will go beyond time. Why? Because lamentation is caused by the mode of ignorance. And it is when your mind is absorbed in the past. And fear is caused by the passion. You are dreaming about the future. What will happen? And moha means the bewilderment now. Body identification now. So when one becomes free, shoka moha vyapaha, from the concern with the past, the future, and the material present, now you've become transcendental, beyond time. Absorbed in Nitya Lila. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there are many beautiful discussions. Sometimes Shukadeva Goswami is speaking. Sometimes Narad Muni, Bhishma Dev, Kapil Dev, Maitreya, Vidura, Uddhava. Sometimes gopis, the highest devotees, are speaking. But especially sweet are the words of Krishna, describing the gopis of Vrndavana. Each verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is like an endless ocean of nectar. So it's essential to hear the verses from our spiritual master, from pure Vaishnavas. Tat Shrinvan Supatan Vicharana Tato Bhaktya Vimuchyennara. First hear. After hearing, Tat Shrinvan Supatan. Pat means recite, read and recite yourself. Not only pat, supat, beautiful. Your recitation, your reading will be beautiful when it takes place after hearing. If you'll hear first, then you engage in speaking, chanting, reading. This is not pat, this is supat, beautiful. Otherwise, if we try to study independently of our Guru Varga, then we'll misunderstand everything. We'll misunderstand, we'll have misconceptions. My Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj used to say, are you reading? Yes, you're reading in the dark. If you read without the lights on, what do you see? When we come in sadhu sangha, it's like a light. Oh, this is what it means. So everything comes alive in sadhu sangha. Because from the sadhu swarup shakti, the internal potency, the power of devotion emanates. And only by devotion is the true meaning of the Shastra revealed. Bhaktya Bhagavata Grajam na Budya na Chatikaya. Not by intelligence and not by reading commentaries even. Only by bhakti. Pure devotion. So Tatsrinvan Supatan Vicharana. And then after reciting Vichar. Vichar. Savichar, Nirvichar. Means in the state of ekagrata, one-pointedness of mind, deliberate on it. And when Savichar becomes Nirvichar, the actual nature of it is manifested. What is the true nature of this subject? So, Tatshinvan Supatan Vicharana, if you'll do this, Tato Bhaktya Vimuchyennara, then definitely the heart will become flooded with the nectar of devotion and one will be liberated from this world. Perhaps you know that Krishna performed his beautiful Leela in Vrndavana. And then one day, on the order of Kamsamaraj, Akrura came and took Krishna away. He came to Mathura. And there in Mathura, he killed Kansa Maharaj. And after that, his parents sent him to the Gurukul to study in Ujjain, far away in Ujjain, in the school of Sandipani Muni. When his education was complete, he returned to Mathura. And there, being in Mathura, he saw Jamuna river was flowing. Jamuna river was flowing with high waves. Why? Because it was over flooding. Because before coming to Mathura, Jamuna flows through Vrndavana. And the gopis, the cowherd girls of Vrndavana are weeping on the bank of Jamuna and their tears are going and making the river overflow. So when Krishna saw the flowing of Jamuna, he remembered his most beloved Srimati Radhika and the gopis of Vrndavana. And he became in great anxiety for them. He thought, what can I do? How can I help them? I should send someone with a message. Why? Because when I was leaving, I told them, Ayasya iti dautukai. Ayasya, I will return. And only because of this promise, they're staying alive. They have Ashatantu. You know Ashatantu? If you break the stem of a lotus flower, then you see inside, they're very fine fibers. Extremely fine fibers. If you blow or touch it, broken. So the gopis of Vrindavan, they have Ashatantu. That means a very delicate, fragile fiber of hope that Krishna will come back. And this is what keeps them alive. If a doubt will come that he's not coming, this hope will be broken and they cannot stay alive. This is the Mahima, the greatness of their love for Krishna. So only that hope, that promise that he made is keeping them alive. So Krishna thought, if I send a messenger to Vrindavan, then he can deliver my message to them. And it will give a dridata, more firmness to their hope. Their hope is very fragile. But their hope should be made dridata, more firm. If I can send a message to them. But who can I send? Who can I send? If I send a person who knows I am Bhagavan, I am God, who is full of Aishwarya Gyan, knowledge of my opulence, when they arrive in Vrindavan and see the Brijbasis crying and in great pain of separation, he will have criticism to them in his mind. What are they crying about? God is everywhere. God is in your heart, in my heart, and everywhere, everything. How can you be separated from God? Just as a pot made of clay can never be separate from the clay from which it is made. So similarly, everything is the energy of God. We are made of God's energy. How can we be separated from God? So those who have the very strong Tattva Gyan and Aishwarya Gyan, in their mind they may see fault in the Brijbasis. On the other hand, if I send someone there who has Madhurya Bhav, sweetness, then when they go there, then they won't be able to tell them anything. They'll also start to cry and all will be crying together. And so this will fail also. So I'll have to send someone who has appreciation for my sweetness, but also has realization of my opulence, both. And who is extremely intelligent. Who could it be? As Krishna was wandering in this way, Uddhava was also wandering around the palace of Vasudeva Maharaj looking for him. And he approached Krishna. When Krishna saw Uddhava coming, then he became encouraged. He thought, I am just like a man who had a chintamani. That means a jewel. A powerful mystical jewel that can fulfill any desires. So one man, he had a chintamani and he set it on a golden chain. Then one day, he thought, where did I put my jewel? And he was searching for it. Where is it? Here, there. Then he was in great anxiety. I've lost my jewel. I've lost my jewel. And then he realized, I'm wearing it. He was wearing it around his neck. So Krishna, I feel like such a person. There I was thinking, who will I send? Who will I send? And then, Uddhava, of course. He's staying with me in Mathura. He's just the right person. Why is he just the right person? Vrishninam. I try to learn the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. Don't lose any time. Every day, try to be observed. Vrishninam pravaro mantri Krishnasya dayata saka. Shishyo brihaspate sakshad uddhavo buddhisattama. Shukadeva Goswami is saying, Sri Sukha Uvacha. Vrishninam Pravara. Uddhava is the best of all the members of the Vrishni dynasty there in Mathura. Pravaro Mantri, he's Krishna's own advisor, his counselor. He gives advice. Krishna asks him, Uddhava, what do you think about this? And Uddhava gives very interesting perspectives and advice, even to Krishna. Krishnasya Daita. He's Daita, very dear to Krishna. Daita means Data Atma. He's given his heart to Krishna. So he's very dear to Krishna. Sakha, and he's a friend. Sakha, a friend, means with whom you can share very secret things. Unless someone's your friend, you cannot tell them very secret. Someone may be a servant even. But unless you have feelings of the equality and intimacy, you cannot open your heart and tell secrets. So Krishnasya Daita Sakha. Sakha means just like in Braj, Krishna has a Sakha, Subal. And Krishna can engage Subal in very secret missions. Go and arrange for this, for Radharani to meet with him. And when Krishna goes to meet with Radharani, then Subal also can go with him. He'll wait outside. Rupa Manjari said, who can speak the glories of Subal? When Krishna is reclining with his head on the heart of his beloved and perspiring, at that time Subal is fanning Krishna and his beloved. So who can estimate the glories of Subal? But we should know that he's not fanning, he's not like a Manjari, fanning inside, he's outside. And he's pulling a rope. It's one of those fans, the ceiling fans with a rope outside. So the cowboys, they cannot go inside the coach, but at least it can be somewhere nearby. So just as Subal is a Sakha, Uddhava is Sakha. He's not so qualified like Subal, but for example, you know that after Krishna gave mercy to Kubja, then Kubja grabbed him by the dhoti and was pulling, come back to my place. Krishna was very embarrassed in front of his friends. But yayatamam parpadyante tamstataiva bhajana. Krishna reciprocates with everyone. So, after killing Kamsa, Krishna went secretly and met with Kubja and fulfilled all her desires. But he didn't go alone. He went with Uddhava. So no one knows. No one knows about this. But Uddhava he's confident. And he went and waited outside. In Lalit Madhav, Rupa Goswami has written how one time Radha and Krishna, they went inside a cave. And on the walls of this cave, Vishwakarma had made beautiful paintings of Krishna's Leela. And Radha and Krishna were looking at their Leela from years before and feeling great joy. Oh, how you lifted Govardhan Hill. Oh, how you stole my clothes when I was bathing in the river. Like this, they were looking, remembering their pastimes together. Then they came, they saw that Krishna had gone with Akrura, and then they saw a painting. And it was a painting of Krishna with his friends, and one girl was catching his dhoti and pulling. Radharani said to Krishna, who's that girl? Krishna said, you're a very great devotee, very devoted to you. Can you see? She was pulling my cloth and saying, Krishna, go back to Vrndavana at once. Radharani looked at Krishna. Are you sure? All the munis and sages are singing your glories. So who will not know? But at the time when Krishna went there, no one knew. Uddhava went. Why? Krishnasya Daita Sakha. Friend. Shishyo Brihaspati Sakshat. He's Brihaspati Shishya. He's a disciple of Brihaspati. Brihaspati is the guru of all the demigods in the heavenly planets. So Brihaspati has a vast intelligence. So, who has a guru like Brihaspati must be very qualified and very intelligent. So, Shishyo Brihaspati Sakshad Uddhavo Bodhisattva. Here, Sakshad Uddhav. Uddhav is Sakshad Uddhav. The word Uddhav means festival. A festival of joy. So, Uddhav is Sakshad Uddhav. Uddhav himself is directly a festival of joy. If anyone sees him wherever he goes, everyone is in ecstasy. Like a wonderful festival is taking place. Buddhi Sattama, and his buddhi, his intelligence, Sat. Completely pure. So, when Uddhav approached Krishna, when he was thinking, what can I do? Then Krishna, Tammaha Bhagavan Prashtam Bhaktam Aikantinam Kochit Grihita Panina Panim. Grihita Panina Panim means Krishna took the hand of Uddhav in his own hands. And holding, if you want to tell someone something that's very, very important, very marmic, very share tender feelings, then before you speak to them, first you hold their hand. So Krishna took the hand of Uddhav in his hand and said, Gats Uddhava Brajam Soumya Pitro na Pritimavaha Gopinam Madviyogadim Matsandeshar Vimochaya. Gacha means go. In Sanskrit, the verb comes at the end of the sentence, not in the beginning. If you move the verb from the end to the beginning, it means you're making very strong emphasis. So he took the hand of Uddhava and said, Gacha, go. Go where? Uddhava likes to be with Krishna in Mathura. He doesn't want to go anywhere. Gach Uddhava Brajam Soumya. Go to Braja. Soumya means who is like Soma, the moon. When you see the moon and walk in the moonlight, all your cares go away, you feel happy. So Uddhav's face is like the moon. If anyone sees him, they feel very peaceful and happy. Gats Uddhava Brajam Soumya Pitro na Pritimavaha. Pitri means parents. Pritimava, bring some consolation, some satisfaction, some happiness to our parents. Here the word naha is a possessive pronoun, means our. It's plural. Are Nanda and Yashoda Uddhav's parents? No. Then why is he saying our parents? One meaning is, if someone is very important, then they are allowed to use the royal we. That means plural. They speak of themselves, they can use the plural if they are important. Krishna is not thinking he's important. But when he remembered Nanda and Yashoda, he became so proud that they were his parents, that he said, he used the plural for himself. You see, in each word of Srimad Bhagavatam, so much love is there. So when he remembered Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Maya, he became so proud. My parents are so wonderful, that he used the plural. Another meaning, our parents, means me and Balaram, but that would be dual case, but this is Bahuvachanam, plural. My parents, Balaram, and your parents also. Meaning that because you have such a strong relationship with me, therefore my parents are your parents. So it's expression of love for Uddhava also. Pitro now Pritimavaha also means you should think that my parents are your parents, because if a child goes far away. They have to go to school in another country. Then the mother and father, they are worried. But they know where they are, what they're doing. But if a child is kidnapped, then how are the parents worried? This anxiety is intense. Very intense. So essentially Krishna has been kidnapped. He said, I'm coming back. He just went to Mathura with his father to go for a few days and come back. But when he arrived there, then the Yadu dynasty, they kidnapped him. And then they sent him very far away to Ujjain. And now, so many asuras, demons, all over the world, having killed Kamsa, all the associates and the allies of Kamsa, they all want to kill Krishna, so he's in great danger. So Nanda and Yashoda are in extreme anxiety. And Krishna wants to convey to Uddhava, they are our parents, that Uddhava will feel the anxiety that they are feeling and be enthused to leave, because Uddhava doesn't want to leave Krishna. So he's giving him an important mission. You must go there, Priti Mavaha, and bring some consolation to our parents. Another meaning, Priti Mavaha, Na, Pitro Naha, our parents. Here, many people say Krishna is the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Right? And everywhere you go, even if you go to Gokul, they say this is not the Krishna was born in the present cell of Kamsa and Vasudeva Maharaj brought him here. But what is Krishna saying? Krishna is supreme Praman. Dhanamam tu sakshat bhagavatam. Bhagavat pranita. The Vedas come from Krishna, what he tells is the truth. And he is saying that Nanda and Yashoda are my parents. So he's telling Uddhava, go there and you be Praman and tell them, Krishna is saying you are my parents. Because the moment Krishna killed Kamsa, everyone at once knew in Mathura, he's the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Because almost 11 years before, 12 years before, on the wedding day of Devaki, Kamsa Maharaj was driving the chariot of Devaki. And the aerial voice announced, you fool Kamsa, you are driving the chariot of your sister, but you don't know the 8th child of Devaki will kill you. So then, but no one knew, who is the 8th child and where is he? But the moment Krishna killed Kamsa, then the whole stadium who was watching the wrestling match, they all announced, he must be the 8th child of Devaki because of the prophecy that the 8th child of Devaki will kill Kamsa. We've seen him kill Kamsa, he's the 8th child. So then, Nanda Maharaj was in Mathura and everyone was telling him, you are not Krishna's father. Yashoda is not Krishna's mother. He's the son of Devaki. And Nanda Maharaj, he was worried. Does Krishna believe them? Does Krishna believe what everyone is saying or not? So Krishna is saying, Pitro na pratima. You go there and bring solace, saying that Krishna is saying, you are my parents. Don't think I'm staying in Mathura, because I've discovered now you are my foster parents and I found my real parents. No, you pacify them and tell them Krishna is saying, you are my real parents. And I will, just now, very soon I will return. Pitro na pratimava. Gopinam madhyayogadin. And hey Uddhava, he is saying, Pritimavaha, pacify my parents by your sweet words. You are intelligent, you can say things to them which will uplift them and take them out of their suffering. But if Uddhava will say, I am an insignificant person. Your parents, Nanda and Yashoda, in separation from you, they cannot feel happiness. So what can I do? I am not qualified for this mission. So Krishna said, Gatscha Uddhava, you are a festival of joy. Brajam Somya. And your face is just like the moon. That means when my mother and father, they just see you, then they'll feel some relief. Even if you don't say anything. only seeing you, my dear friend. Actually, Uddhava looks very much like Krishna. He has same complexion, similar eyes. And Krishna decorated him with his own cloth, with his own fragrant garland and ornaments. So he said, don't worry. I'm encouraging you. If you go there, you'll be successful. Just when they see you, they'll feel some relief. Then you should speak some sweet words to them and express to them how I feel. But Krishna said, Gopinam madviyogadim. The gopis are viyoga adi. That means feeling the pain of viyog. Yoga means meeting. Viyog means separation. Gopis feeling the pain of separation. Mat sandesha vimochaya. Save them from this pain by giving my sandesh, my messages. Here is in plural also. I have many messages. I will tell you. That means don't try to pacify gopis by your intelligence. Just repeat my exact words, what I'm saying. Why? Because my parents, you may to some degree understand them and think of something appropriate to say. But the love of the gopis of Vrndavana is far beyond anything you can possibly imagine. And if you try to say something to pacify them, whatever you say will only make the situation worse. So I'll give you some message, just repeat these messages. It also means, don't give my message to my parents. The converse is true also. Because this message is specifically for the gopis. And their love is such that they will understand, they will be able to appreciate it. But if this message you'll tell to my parents, then they'll become more distressed. So both ways. On the one hand, don't try to pacify the gopis, say the message. On the other hand, don't tell this message to my parents. Also. All this is included in this verse that Krishna is telling to Uddhava. So, and now it is very late. So we'll continue tomorrow. Now you have heard. Then recite and deliberate upon it. Because it is the power of Srimad Bhagavatam. Simply by hearing the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, the feelings of love for Krishna sprout in the heart. This is the inconceivable, unlimited power of Bhagavatam. Because Bhagavatam is Krishna himself. Just as Krishna incarnates among the fish as Matsya avatar, among the amphibians as Kurma avatar, among the Kshatriyas as Lord Ramachandra. So Krishna incarnates among the Shastra as Srimad Bhagavatam. So we'll sing Kirtan now. Tomorrow morning, please come at 6 o'clock. We'll have Arti, Tosipakrama, Japa meditation, and then breakfast, and then some Harikatha also in the morning, and then again in the evening at 6:30. Gaur Premanande.